For 4 decades, the Gaddafi regime ruled the Libyan people with an iron fist. Basic human rights were denied, innocent civilians were detained, beaten, and killed. Libya's wealth was squandered. The enormous potential of the Libyan people was held back, and terror was used as a political weapon. Today, we can definitively say that the Gaddafi regime has come to an end. The last major regime strongholds have fallen. The new government is consolidating the control over the country, and one of the world's longest-serving dictators is no more.
President Obama shook hands with Libya's Colonel Gaddafi. There's been hostility between the two countries for years over Libya's support.
Ronald Reagan once called him the mad dog of the Middle East. But today, Colonel Gaddafi was back on the world stage, his rehabilitation complete. The world's most powerful, lining up alongside a man who armed the dinner last night. The camera caught this wary encounter with America's president, where they eventually shook hands.
The leader has said that he sees President Barack Obama almost as an African leader. How did he feel when he heard that President Obama had won the Nobel Peace Prize?
It goes without saying, he's an African, and we're proud that we Africans, we in the African continent present someone who's an African to be the President of the United States of America. We are proud of that. But as regards to the Nobel Peace Prize, I do believe that he deserves it. But to be given right now, in my view, it's some sort of hypocrisy.
We tried to assassinate the leader of Libyan people in 1986.
Despite our repeated warnings, Gaddafi continued his reckless policy of intimidation, his relentless pursuit of terror. He counted on America to be passive. He counted wrong.
All but one American aircraft returned from the mission. U.S. patrols this morning showed the fighters on alert in the Mediterranean and the Sixth Fleet in a holding pattern. The Americans say they'll remain ready to act again if necessary, and no one is ruling that out.
Flying all the way around the Iberian Peninsula and coming through the Straits of Gibraltar, coming right off the sea. And what did they hit first? They hit the compound we're seeing every day on television. They hit his office. They hit his tent out in the compound there. They hit his home. They killed a daughter. This time they've killed 3 grandchildren. Is there no end to it? Is there no decency? Are the people of the planet powerless to end such tyranny and violence?
He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off here.
على السؤال اللي حاير لماذا العراق؟ شو سببه؟ بن لادن عراقي ما هو عراقي اللي يضربوا نيويورك عراقيين ما هم عراقيين اللي يضربوا البنتاغون عراقيين ما هم عراقيين فيها دمار شامل عند العراق ما عنده.
Saddam has perfected the game of cheat and retreat and is very skilled in the art of denial and deception.
This is a regime that has already used poison gas to murder thousands of its own citizens on Saddam Hussein's orders.
This is a man who has attacked his neighbors twice, who represses his own people.
He used chemical weapons both against the Kurds and against the Iranians during the 1980s.
Who is continuing to develop weapons of mass destruction.
He's launched ballistic missiles against 4 of his neighbors over the years.
وممكن الدور جاي عليكم كلكم امريكا قاتلت مع صدام حسين ضد الخميني، كان صديقها. تشيني كان صديق لصدام حسين. رابط سندي كان وزير الدفاع الامريكي لما كان يدمروا في العراق، صديق حميم لصدام حسين، واخيرا باعوه. عشان نقول حتى انتم اصدقاء امريكا، نحن اصدقاء امريكا، بلاش نقول انتم، نحن اصدقاء امريكا كلنا. قد توافق امريكا على سنتنا، قد توافق امريكا على سنتنا.
Muammar Gaddafi has positioned himself as a champion of the continent, vigorously promoting the Pan-Africanist idea of a United States of Africa, one in which he would be president. A continent with one army, one passport, one currency, called the Afro. So what will become of Colonel Gaddafi's vision if he's toppled from power in Libya?
But some are convinced intervention in Libya is all about currency, specifically Gaddafi's plan to introduce the gold dinar, a single African currency made from gold, a true sharing of the wealth.
It's one of these things that you have to plan almost in secret, because as soon as you say you're going to change over from the dollar to something else, you're going to be targeted. There were two conferences on this, one in 96 and another one in the year 2000, called the World Mataba Conference, organized by Gaddafi. And everybody was interested, and I think most countries in Africa were keen.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold. The UK has double that, but 10 times the population.
If Gaddafi had an intent to try to reprice his oil or whatever else the country was selling in the global markets and accept something else as a currency, or maybe launch a gold dinar currency, any move such as that would certainly not be welcomed by the power elite today who are responsible for controlling the world's central banks. So yes, that would certainly be something that would cause his immediate dismissal and the need for other reasons to be brought forth for removing him from power.
Beyonce and Mariah Carey are trying to distance themselves from embattled Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi after WikiLeaks reported the singers were paid hefty sums to perform at private events for the Gaddafi family. Beyonce is donating her $1 million paycheck from Gaddafi to earthquake relief efforts in Haiti, while Carey promises the proceeds from her upcoming single Save the Day will go towards human rights charities. Meanwhile, Nelly Furtado tweeted her plans to donate to charity the $1 million she earned from singing at a 2007 Gaddafi birthday party. Other stars linked to Gaddafi performances in the WikiLeaks documents include Usher, Timbaland, and 50 Cent.
And joining us to talk more about the CIA's possible role in Libya, from Washington, former CIA counterterrorism analyst Michael Scheuer. Michael, thanks for being with us this morning.
You're welcome.
So there are reports out, again, that the CIA is on the ground in Libya, contacting and vetting the rebels. Is this setting the stage to arm them?
I don't think there's any other possible reason for it, and the president clearly has sent the agency in to find out who he is supporting and to see what kind of material, human material, we would have to work with if the president decided to arm and train these people over the longer term.
Yeah.
who died. Did it have anything to do with your visit? I'm sure it did.
Ruled the Libyan people with an iron fist. Basic human rights were denied. Innocent civilians were detained, beaten, and killed. And Libya's wealth was squandered.
Before Gaddafi, fewer than 1/5 of Libyans were literate. No access to education for the majority of people. And then after Gaddafi, free quality education system, including university, and the literacy rate rose to 83%. Libya has free healthcare. All people, including the rebels, have access to doctors, hospitals, clinics, and medicines free of charge. If a Libyan needs surgery that is unavailable in Libya, funding is provided for the surgery to be carried out overseas. Soon after the revolution, basic food items were subsidized and electricity was made available throughout the country. Huge irrigation projects were established in order to support a drive towards agriculture development and self-sufficiency in food production. Gaddafi initiated the construction of the Great Man-Made River, referred to in the Guinness Book of Records as a wonder of the modern world. This gigantic river has managed to turn the coastal desert green.
In its early days, skeptics called it the Great Madman's River, a reference to the Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi and its enormous expense, billions of dollars.
Any Libyan who wanted to become a farmer was and still is given free use of land, a house, farm equipment, livestock, and seeds. Gaddafi vowed to house every Libyan, many of whom were still living in tents and houses made out of oil drums. He also vowed that his own parents, who lived in a tent, would not be housed until every Libyan was housed.
His mother had only one complaint. Her son insists that they remain in their tent until every Libyan is properly housed.
He fulfilled that promise, his own father dying before he had the opportunity to move him into a home. Large-scale housing construction took place right across the country, all Libyans being given a house or apartment to live in for free. Under the leadership of Gaddafi, Libya has attained the highest standard of living in Africa, rated on the UN's HDI ahead of Russia, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia. In 2007, in an article which appeared in the African Executive magazine, it was noted that Libya, unlike other oil-producing countries such as Nigeria, utilized the revenue from its oil to develop its country.
No Libyan lives in poverty, not one. The crime rate in Libyan society is nothing in comparison to those of you who condemn him and his rule of Libya. He has built hundreds of thousands and into the millions of homes for his people. No Libyan is homeless. No Libyan is living under a bridge. Why are you angry with him? What has he done to bring down on him the wrath of the West? Libya ranks 61 in the world in their incarceration rate. Russia is number 2. The United States of America is number 1. Can you lecture Muammar Gaddafi and call him a madman? No, shut up and listen.
It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come.